Hey, everybody.
Oh,
Hey,
that's good. Hey, how you doing?
we got an interview.
We do. We let the cat out of the bag last couple of weeks, but it was a good one.
We got the man, Dave Jorn. Is that showing up?
Yeah, it's
This is
showing
his
up.
book, More Than Baseball. I actually read his book.
Right.
He wrote it. And he talks about his life as a pitching coach at Arkansas twice, and then also in the major leagues and the farm systems, AA, AAA, or
Still
single A,
scouting to
AA.
this day.
He's scouting as a major league scout. Lots of good baseball stuff, but also, like the book says, it's more than baseball. And he tells his testimony about how God changed his life. So this is a good one, a great story of a man's life and some of his accomplishments, some good baseball stuff, but also just some good. I thought it was a good interview. What'd you think?
And I love the interview. And by the way, I'm going to plug his website, davejorn.com.
That's right.
The man has three loves in his life, and his face lit up when we brought up all three of them, and that's the St. Louis Cardinals, Miss Melinda, and his relationship with Christ. And there's a way to talk to him. He can come to your place, talk to you about Christ, come to your church, your gatherings, and you do that on davejorn.com.
So if you're looking for those of y'all at churches, you're looking for a speaker for, I know a lot of people like to get sports guys in for men's events or sports banquets or or just any kind of anything really. I mean, I'm not just saying a men's deal, but since he was a baseball guy, that kind of, would be a little more of a draw, I guess. But I think since he's retired, he's wanting to get his name out there for that. So go to davejorn.com, as Clint said. Check him out. Check out the interview. Let us know what you think about it. Like and share, and give us some feedback on this interview, what you think about it, and all that good stuff. Now, how about some Sean Michelle as we get ready for Dave Jorn?
1, 2, 3, 4. You ever seen a lame man walk? Ever heard a dumb man talk? Never seen a blind man see? I promise you a change his name. You ever seen a cancer dead? Ever seen all the poor get fed? Ever seen a prisoner set free? I promise you a change his name. And find a home. Ever seen the weak find the strength? I promise you changes.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to the Big
every time
and Bigger T podcast. I'm your boy Bigger T, Travis Johnson, coming at you from beautiful South Arkansas. I have my man Big C, Clint Clark, coming at you from parts unknown. No, Greenbrier.
Greenbrier, Arkansas.
And then, folks, we have a special guest. Clint, we can, we've had some guests where we've had to, we had to be on our best behavior.
Yes.
And we, but we've classed it up a little bit. We got a guy with some lot of experience, a guy that may, hey, we're going to talk about his book. I read his book, great book, More Than Baseball. Coach Dave Jorn, longtime pitching coach, 2 stints with Arkansas Razorbacks and many stints with some major league teams in the farm systems and the minor leagues. And Coach Jorn, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me. Been looking forward to it.
Now, you've coached with every baseball coach Arkansas has ever had, haven't you?
Yeah, that's that.
We've had all 2 of them.
I mean, yeah, 2. So
yeah. You started out with DeBrine. Was that when did you start?
Came in the summer of 1982.
That's what I was thinking.
till 89.
And then came back under Van Horn.
Right, 2002, and then my last year when I retired was 2016.
And now, since you've retired, just to kind of give an update on, we'll talk more about your past a little bit and what you talk about in the book. But where are you at now? What are you doing now?
Well, we downsized our house, moved out of Fayetteville, and we're up in Bentonville now. My wife and I both retired. She was a elementary school teacher for 35 years, and she retired in 2017. But I am currently keeping my hand in baseball a little bit. I part-time scout for the Tampa Bay Rays and help 2 area scouts in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and Kansas.
So is that fun for you to be able to keep in the game and to scout? Is it a job or is it fun that you get to keep going in the game you love?
Well, it's a little bit of both. I mean, the fun part is going out and watching players and evaluating players. The job part is doing all the reports that you have to turn in. But yeah, I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What's your what's it like? I mean, just tell us kind of the only thing I really know about scouts is the movie Trouble with the Curve with Clint Eastwood. What does a scout do? I mean, what do you get reports from the big leagues and they tell you, hey, there's a player you need to go look at, and you go observe them, or how does that kind of work?
Well, I mean, I'm a part-time guy, so every organization has the United States and foreign places covered, and they have area scouts which are responsible for knowing all the players in their particular area. For instance, the one person that I help, he has just Northwest Arkansas, then he has Missouri, he has Kansas, he has Iowa, he has Nebraska, he has Minnesota, and the Dakotas.
Wow.
I mean, so that's a wide area, a very large area. So you can see that, he kind of needs some help. The other guy, the rest of Arkansas, Oklahoma, and North Texas, which is also not as big an area, but more players. So, I mean, when these guys can't be at 2 places at one time, and there's need for some more eyes or so to speak, to put on some of these players, the scouting department in Tampa Bay sends me there and they give me the names. So I it's not like I'm going there blind. I know who I'm going there to see. And, sometimes I'll have names from both teams. So that's pretty.
Do you mainly just attend games and watch them play in those games, or will you go to practices and go to the school and talk to coaches and all that?
No, just the games. I mean, the area guy's responsible for all that other stuff. I mean, he's got a handle on all these names. He's turned all these names into our organization, to our scouting department. So I'm just going there to, just kind of put another eye, so to speak, on some of the players that he's turned in that he can't be there at that time because his area is too big to be in 2 places at once. So yeah, they just tell me where to go, and I evaluate. Most of it's just college guys, Division I. Like I'll go to Oklahoma State, Oral Roberts, Kansas State, Missouri State, Arkansas, and all the in-state schools in Arkansas, and Wichita State. I'll even swing over to Memphis from time to time. So I'm about like a 5-hour radius where they'll send me, and it's usually it's every weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday during the baseball season.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I just one of those things.
I found that I had a lot of that's really interesting. The scouting process. Now, has it ever worked that you've been at like scouting? Of course, you said you mostly scout colleges, and I figured it'd be more in high school that this would happen. Where you go to scout one player and you're like, you know what, this guy right here, you may want to check him out.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I mean, even at the college level, and I've seen very few high school games. Now I will go up to Crowder and watch, Crowder play. That's only like 45 minutes from my house,
Mhm.
and they've had a couple of guys every year up there that was some good arms as far as pitchers, and I'll scout pitchers as well as position guys. So, it's not specific to any position. But yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of guys that, even that are underclassmen, say for instance, that aren't eligible for the draft in the current year, that show a lot of promise. So I'll turn them in as follows, and they'll be in our system as far as names that are worthy to be continued to look at down the road.
Oh, that's cool.
Now we have a lot of coach. Clint and I are 46. Aren't we 46, Clint?
Yeah,
Okay, I was just making sure.
we've had it for birthdays.
Yeah. We're at that age where we're starting to forget how old we are, or at least I am. But we have a lot of friends that have kids that are, that are playing baseball and trying to make it in baseball and things like that. What would you say when you go watch a kid play, besides the obvious, okay, the obvious technical stuff for baseball, are there other things you're looking at as you're watching them in that game situation that mean a lot to you as a scout, that the people higher up that you pass them along to are going to care about also?
Well, that's a good question. It's a good point too, because, most of the time, I mean, there are times that, guys are having a bad game and their talent's not really showing through. I mean, it happens. Pitchers, maybe velocity's down a little bit. They try to force something. They don't have a good game. A lot of things are going on, but it's pretty evident as far as watching and evaluating the physical tools. The things that you're not sure of is the makeup, the competitiveness, things like that. So, first thing you notice is the body type. You're looking for, an athletic looking build.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I'm just watching these kids on how they go about their business. I mean, are they hustle? Do they compete? Do they work hard? I'm there for batting practice, and I'd like to see guys, outfielders run down fly balls in the outfield just to see what kind of jumps they get, because you may not even get a fly ball in the course of a ball game.
Yeah.
I want to see infielders take a lot of ground balls. I want to see, see if they can show me what kind of range they have. They may not even get that in the game. So, I mean, you just like watching how they go about their business and, how they compete during the course of the game.
Now, Coach, would you describe Bigger T's build as athletic? Would you say Travis's build is athletic, Coach?
Well, right now I can't see anybody. I've got this recorded host participant thing on my screen.
Well, just trust me when I say the answer is no.
That's right. Yeah. Especially not for baseball.
Football, but
yeah. Even then, there needs to be some work done.
He's got more of a sumo wrestler's body.
That's right. Now, Coach, you grew up in Southern Illinois, just outside of St. Louis.
Right.
Grew up a big Cardinals fan, right?
Right.
Who were some of your heroes growing up?
Oh, wow. I remember, I mean, they had multiple lineups, but I mean, you go way back to Bill White, Orlando Cepeda as first baseman, Julian Javier, Red Shandy's type second baseman, Dow Maxfield, Dick Grote, Kenny Boyer, Mike Shannon, Tim McCarver behind the plate, Bob Gibson, my man on the mound, Lou Brock, Kurt Flood. I mean, all those guys. I mean, throughout the years. I mean, I remember being a kid, just going out in the yard, and, just trying to emulate all those guys, playing wiffle ball or something.
Well, of course, once again, I want to mention this. You've written a book you just published called More Than Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells your life story a little bit and some different stories now. And you can get this book off Amazon, by the way. I bought it on Amazon, and one of the few things that actually came in early from Amazon, by the way, which was nice. It seems like everything here since the pandemic is taking longer and comes in later. So
Right.
nice to get something early. Now, when you were growing up, you didn't develop as early as some of the other kids you talked about.
Right. Yeah. I guess I started school early. I mean, too early. I mean, we didn't have kindergarten and preschool and all that stuff when I was a boy, you know. So it was going straight into first grade, and so I graduated in 1972 from high school, and I didn't turn 18 until October of my freshman year of junior college. So I should have been a senior in high school at that point, because as a freshman, I should have been in the 8th grade. When I went as a freshman into high school, I was 5 foot 92 pounds. And then as a sophomore, like 5'2" and maybe 98, I hadn't cracked 100 yet. So that would have been my freshman year. And then my junior year, I was 5'11" and I was like 140. So I had grown 9 inches and put on a bunch of weight. That would have been like my sophomore year, but it was actually my junior year. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it was late, but it wasn't really late. It was probably more on time. It was just that I started early.
Yeah. And now, when you went to college, you played shortstop and pitch, correct?
Yes, I didn't start pitching until the spring of my sophomore year. I got schooled on hitting a little bit. I went out after my freshman year, and I had a pretty good freshman year offensively at the junior college that I and went to the Central Illinois Collegiate League. And at that point in time, that was a pretty strong league. They didn't have all these collegiate leagues that they have now back in those days, but that was a pretty tough league. And I think I hit like a $190 or something like that. And I got introduced to sliders and better curveballs and stuff. And I wasn't, it was pretty obvious that I needed to figure out how to hit or go to the mound. So did a little bit of both as my sophomore year.
And you went to a couple of different colleges. You started out in junior college, correct?
Right. I went to Belleville Junior College, and then from there, well, it's called SWIC, Southwestern Illinois College now. But from there, I went to Southeast Missouri State, SEMO, my junior and senior year.
And then from there, went in. You got a tryout with the Cardinals, right?
Right.
Now, how great was that of being a kid? I mean, you were a kid then.
Yeah, that was
to try out for your team you grew up. I mean, I just asked you about the Cardinals earlier, and those of y'all that are listening to this listen to it on audio, his face lit up as he's telling
his face lit up with that question. So I'm excited.
The positions, right?
Hey.
Telling us the lineup of your childhood lineup there of your heroes, and then you get to try out for that team. Tell us that story and what that was like.
Well, first of all, just backtrack a little bit. I mean, my senior year, I had a really good senior year, and I didn't get drafted. And I was invited to a invitation tryout camp at Busch Stadium. And what they did is they had all the pitchers pitch like 2 innings. You got 6 outs. And man, I was so fired up to be on Bob Gibson's mound and being at Busch Stadium. I mean, I was throwing some BBs. I struck out like 5 of the 6 guys and come off the mound, and the man that was running the camp, Fred McAllister, he's passed away now, but he said, looks like you got a really good arm, but we don't have a radar gun here. We're going to have a camp next weekend in Little Rock. If you want to come down there and if you throw 85 on our gun down there, our roving pitching coach will be down there with our radar gun. You throw 85 on that gun, I'll sign you. Well, I mean, I didn't, I wanted to play. I mean, my eligibility was up. I had no, I'm on my way to Little Rock. I'm driving 7 hours to Little Rock. They put me up in the hotel and just kind of catered to me a little bit, and asked me when I wanted to throw. And I said, maybe third or fourth. I'll just take my time and watch and see what's going on with everything. And I went out there and threw 87, 88, I think, on that radar gun. He signed me to a $500 bonus right there at Ray Winder.
And then on the way home, you had to spend some of that money.
Yeah. I got a speeding ticket in Paragould. Like $75 later.
Brought you back to earth a little bit. Huh?
Right.
Yeah, but you know what? Looking back on that thing, I mean, at the time, I had no clue. I'd never been on a radar gun in my life. I didn't know what 85 miles an hour was. And by the way, that radar gun that they used then, that recorded velocity at home plate. That didn't record it out of the hand.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be like somewhere around 92, 93 on the gun today, probably. Because I had a good arm. I just really couldn't hit. I could throw well. But as I look back on that, I'm thinking, you have a invitation only tryout camp in Little Rock or in Busch Stadium, and you don't have any way to measure the arm strength or velocity on the guys that are pitching.
What you do in Little Rock? They
did in Little Rock because evidently Cardinals only had one radar gun, and that was the roving pitching coach that had it.
Oh my goodness!
See, nowadays, it like literally is in the outfield. Like you'll see it, like the velocity of every pitch now.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's like each organization. I don't know how many radar guns they have. Each scout's got one. I mean, so this is 1976, so this is how far we've come, I guess.
Is that a pretty normal thing for a scout or a coach to tell a player, if you can hit this speed, then I'll sign you? Because I say that because we went to high school with, that a scout told him that if he gave him 10 pitches to hit 90, that he would sign him. And he got 89 on his last 5 pitches and he didn't sign him.
Well, I mean, I guess that depends on the situation and the circumstances. But for instance, after the draft is over with, and the organization is still looking for another arm, another pitcher, they may give the scout the okay to do that with a individual tryout with someone. But typically the scouts they don't have the power to be able to do that. I mean, we're just out there evaluating and turning in reports, and those decisions are made by the cross checkers, the regional cross checkers, the national cross checkers, and the scouting directors. So the area scouts and things, they don't have the power to say, hey, if you'll throw this for me, I'll sign you. Well, first of all, you got to go through the draft.
Yeah.
So your name's got to be inputted in the draft, and then the team's got to draft you before you can be signed. So, like I say, if it's a kid that's out of eligibility, that has no more life in the draft, post-draft, sign, something like that, yeah, I guess that would be possible.
Yeah. Now, after you make it into the, you kind of travel around in farm ball and you spent most of your time, I guess, in Florida, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was there 2 years, in North Carolina for a year, and Little Rock for a year and a half, Springfield, Illinois for a half a year. That was AAA at the time.
Now, when you went to Little Rock, y'all played against the University of Arkansas.
We did.
And that sort of set you up for your future a little bit. Tell about that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was 1980. And back in those days, the Arkansas Travelers and the University of Arkansas played an exhibition game when the Travelers, and we would come out of spring training and we'd get into Little Rock, and we'd play an exhibition game.
Mm.
And so I pitched against the Razorbacks in the exhibition game. Pitched like 6 innings against them in 1980.
Mm.
And my last year playing was 1981. And so I decided I wanted to go into coaching. So I sent out resumes, and one of the resumes that I sent out was to Coach Brian, and he had remembered me pitching against them, you know, just that spring before in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't all that crazy, you know, excited about pitching against the college guys, but it worked out for me.
Yeah. Tell about what it was like heading to Arkansas that first time.
Coaching wise, or?
Yeah. And coaching under DeBryan.
Well, I mean, I was young. I was like 28 at the time. I mean, I wasn't that much older than the players. The program was really just in the early stages, you know, really of having success. You know, at 79, they went to the College World Series, and then I got there in the summer of 82. So in the fall of 82 was my first year. We played at Old George Cole Field, which is where the practice football fields are right now.
Mm-hmm.
It was an AstroTurf field. We were lucky to get 200-300 people, you know, attend the games. We only had one full-time assistant at that point. It was Doug Clark. He had been there for quite a while, and he was the hitting coach and recruiting coordinator. And I was a full-time coach, but I was getting paid $400 a month, and they were paying for my masters. And that, you know, I'm starving to death really on $400 a month, having to pay for an apartment and you know, insurance and food and whatnot. But Coach DeBryan and Coach Clark, they took care of me. They had me over at their house, you know, pretty much brought me right into their families and had me over to dinner most nights. It's trying to help me to survive.
Yeah.
Is it hard looking at Baum Stadium now and thinking how far, or is it just mind blowing to see how far the facilities have come for Arkansas baseball?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It is crazy, especially with the new addition that they got. And there's always something. There's always something. You know, there's like when we first got there, when Dave got the job in 2002, when we first arrived, you know, Coach Broyles was still the AD, and Dave just went to him and said, "We need some more seats. We need to have a better scoreboard, and we need to enclose the batting cage, because that batting cage up behind the third base dugout, that was open air at the time."
Mm-hmm.
And there was just berms, you know, a grassy berm down both sides, left field and right field. And we had a little dinky scoreboard. Mm-hmm. So that was the first kind of phase. And then it was the suites, partial suites both sides, and then full suites both sides. And then the indoor, and now this new training facility and locker room facility they got. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see that or get in there, but that's incredible. So the days of having to work your tail off to recruit and bring players in, those days are long gone. I mean, with the success that the programs having now, and the facilities they have, in the league that they play in, it's almost like you can kind of reach out there and pick anybody that you want and have a good opportunity to get them these days.
Sells itself.
Right.
And we had Michael Turner on the podcast, the catcher, last year, and he talks about, he goes, at Arkansas, he goes, you really can get as good as you want.
Yes,
goes,
right.
If I want to set up a machine tonight and go field ground balls, I have the ability to do that. If I want to go, he goes, you have all this ability, and you have every piece of equipment you could ever imagine. Mm-hmm. Just there at your disposal, because you can get as good as you want.
That's right. I mean, you have all the facilities to help make you better. You have the coaches to help make you better. You have, if you fail, it's on you. I mean, whether because maybe you can't handle the stage is too big for you, expectations are too high, you lack enough confidence. But if you're confident, you got work ethic, you can get to wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Travis. I'll let you go ahead.
Well, you went from Arkansas. You had a chance to go into the pros as you went as a pitching coach first, I believe, right?
Right, that's right.
But you also spent some time as a manager, didn't you?
I've done a little bit of that as well as scouting. Yeah, I left in 89. I mean, I thought that was the best road to travel. I wanted to be a major league pitching coach. That's, I wanted to be at the top of the game. So I didn't see that myself having that opportunity as a college coach. So that's why I left. Other than that, I would have stayed at Arkansas forever. I love the people I worked with, and I love coaching the players. I mean, everything was great. But as far as my goal, it was to be a major league pitching guy. So, after 6 years or so of that, 7 or 8 years of doing that, just being at A ball, double A ball, some winter ball in Venezuela, this and that, it didn't look like my opportunity was coming around. So when they asked me if I wanted to manage, I said, yeah, I'll give it a try, but that really wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't really like wearing that hat. So.
Well, what is it about being a pitching coach versus being a manager makes it better fit for you?
Well, I mean, the manager, I mean, he's like the head coach in college, right? So I didn't really want to be a head coach in college either. I didn't want to wear that hat. I like being able to give my voice my opinion and give my advice to the head coach without having all that, everything on top of me and having the responsibility of all that. Mm-hmm. So that just isn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
I didn't have the responsibility of having the whole team.
No, that makes sense.
Now, in the pros, you were, in minor leagues and all that, you were with the Yankees, and then I believe you went to the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
And then during that time, and of course, and I want to get to this part because this is really the main point of your book, because your book is called More Than Baseball.
Right.
And we've been talking mostly about baseball here, but you were throughout your book tells a story about some challenges you faced, and sometimes you had some heavy disappointments and maybe some bad decisions you made that put you in those situations or whatever. And at that time you were having some problems with your marriage, and then Dave Van Horn gets the coaching job at Arkansas.
Right.
Tell about kind of what was going on then and the decision to come back to Arkansas.
Yeah. I was involved. My marriage, it had pretty much, for all intents and purposes, it wasn't going to be fixed. It was just, my ex-wife just did not like being alone, because when I was coaching, I would leave in March and come back in September, and she didn't like that. Mm-hmm. She didn't like, being that way. So after a while, I went into scouting. I tried to save it by going into scouting, where I could be responsible for an area, know the area, cover the area, schedule the area, and be home whenever I needed to be home and be gone whenever I had to go. I thought that would be the next best thing. And when Dave got the job, I was on my way. This was after the draft. I was actually on my way to Quad Cities. I had responsibility to cover the Midwest League. The amateur scouts also have some duty in the summertime to evaluate minor league talent, for potential trades, whatever it might be, just to have an eye and evaluation on some of these players. So anyway, I was on my way there, and I called Dave to congratulate him. And he says, well, first of all, I got to backtrack and tell you that part of my scouting area was Nebraska. And he had really good players, and I was at Nebraska a lot. Mm-hmm. And not only that is, you know, I was in Dave's wedding in 1987 when he was a grad assistant at Arkansas when I was still there. So, you know, we knew each other very well, and we had a friendship. Mm. And so I called him, and then when I did, he says, have you had enough of that pro ball stuff yet? And I said, you know what? As a matter of fact, I have. And I thought this would be a better opportunity. I wouldn't have to travel hardly at all. You have one stationary place to be, you know, one home base that you're working from, and you're going to be home every night. Then I thought, you know, that'd be a great idea. So we went down and took a visit, and I said, what do you think? She says, that's your decision.
And now y'all wasn't married when you were at Arkansas before, right?
No, we weren't. We were not. So she says, that's your decision. And I said, well, okay, let me think about it. And I called Dave the next day, and I said, I'll take the job. And I told her I was taking the job. She says, well, I'm not going. And I said, well, that's your decision, but I'm going. And that was pretty much the end of it. It was headed that way anyway.
And so when you got there, you were kind of, as far as in your life, you were, you know, even though you got this new job, personally, you were kind of in a downward spiral. And you had grown up religious, but I used the word religious and not, you didn't, in your book, talk about you didn't have a relationship with Christ. You were Catholic. You went and did all the things that as a Catholic you do, but you wasn't bought in, I guess.
Well, I knew there was a God. I mean, you know, I knew there was a God, but I thought being a Christian was not going to be any fun, man. You know, I thought that was going to be too difficult. But at the same time, I also knew that I was missing out on something in my life. There was something missing in my chest, and I didn't know what it was. I mean, I would search and try this and try to go buy myself something here or do this or do that, try to fulfill something that was missing. And then it was gone after the chase was over, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And I had accepted Christ a couple of times in my life, you know, earlier, but I professed that with my mouth, but I never really believed it in my heart because nothing changed in my life. So it really wasn't until 2004 when old bitter Bob, being me, was totally broken, and that I finally accepted Christ.
Tell us about that story. What was the guy's name with the Arkansas Athletes Outreach?
Josh Foleyart. We had just gone to Josh worked for AAO, which was Arkansas Athlete Outreach. It's our like Christian organization on campus. Coach Briles did not allow FCA on campus or any of that stuff. So it was AAO, and, you know, a bunch of different young men actually were assigned to different sports at the university. And Josh who was assigned to us. And he was around the ballpark, the clubhouse, the locker room. He was there all the time, and he was doing Bible studies with the players, and, you know, he'd be there and I'd see him and I'd go the other way. I mean, he was threatening me. I didn't want to be happy at that time. I was perfectly content with being angry and miserable. And, you know, then he's even in the dugout, and I'm like, holy crap, I can't get away from him here in the dugout. You know, I can't be dropping I felt like I couldn't drop my F-bombs, you know, and be myself in the dugout. And I was really threatened by that. So, you know, we went to the College World Series in 2004, right? You'd think a guy'd be happy, you know, on top of the world. Heck, the Razorbacks hadn't been there since '79. It was only the second time they've been. Mm. And we were having camp one, you know, late summer before school started in the fall. And Matt Deggs was our other coach, and he and I got into it. We were about to go to blows. And
You would have won that fight though, right?
I don't know. That would have, Matt's pretty doggone tough. He was a tough kid. And he was a lot young. He was younger than me, but he was like my little brother. And here I am. We're going to go to blows, and then we just calmed down, didn't speak to each other the rest of the camp. I went to the office the next day, and I'm sitting in my office. He's sitting in his next door to me. We had offices in the suites up above the third base dugout, and I'm blaming him for all this. And then after a while, it's like, there's a voice telling me, you're an idiot, man. It's all because of you. And so it humbled me to go next door to tell Matt that, hey, man, I'm sorry. I've been a mess for a while now. And he was, of course, agreeing with that. And so we went in the suite next door and called Josh Foleyart. And I was on my hands and knees crying like a baby, man, accepting Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. That was in September of August of 2004.
That's great. Now,
my life.
How did that change you I know it changed you, but what are some specific ways it changed you as a coach and all that?
Well, I know for about 6 months, I couldn't discipline hardly anybody, man. I had the Holy Spirit. He was buzzing on the back of my head all day long for like 6 months. And I was just in love with everything. But no, really what happened was, I was always really tough, but really most of my focus centered on me, kind of. I didn't want to be in the forefront, but I wanted to be respected by how my players performed. And I wanted to be recognized by that. And so there wasn't as much relational stuff as there was after I was saved. Not a lot changed. I was still trying to get them to understand, how to be a man, how to be, a good man, a man that's going to, know what hard work is. He's going to be respectful. He's going to be responsible. He's going to be able to learn to do all the things that he's going to need down the road when he becomes a parent. And the relational, that just, it was never about me anymore at all. My life was never about me.
Well, then, of course, to make that even more so, God put a lady named Melinda in your life. Tell us about her.
Yeah, he did. That was crazy because Josh and I became really good friends, and he kind of mentored to me for a while. And he was taking a college class that he needed for like a non-traditional type of teaching certificate. And he was taking this class at UA Fort Smith, and Melinda was teaching the class. And Josh kept telling me, I've got this lady that I think that you would like to meet. And I said, yeah, okay. Well, he introduced me to her, and we wound up getting married. So here's the guy that I don't want to have anything to do with. He helps lead me to Christ, and then he introduces me to the love of my life. So only by God's grace.
Now, I want to say this, and Miss Melinda will be happy to hear this if she doesn't watch this on the YouTube. But your face lit up just as much for talking about Melinda as it did the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh,
yeah. I wanted to point that out. That Sawyer and Brownie there.
She's incredible. I'll tell you what, I almost didn't marry her either. I knew I loved her, but she's got MS, and she's had it since she's like 28 years old. She still does pretty good with the disease, but I was really afraid of that disease, and I almost walked away. But I just loved her too much to be able to do that. So
that's a great story in itself. Just God bringing y'all together and you being able to get past, because that would be scary to think about. It's scary to think about marriage, let alone think about what could happen toward the end of it. Of course, anybody gets into marriage, you don't know what the end of it's going to be like. You don't know what's going to happen. So
absolutely. I didn't think about it at all, when we were dating. I mean, we met in 2005, like in February 2005. It wasn't long after I was saved. And we got married in like, I want to say April. Yeah, April of 2007. So we dated for a long time. And she was still living in Van Buren and teaching at Van Buren. So, we worked it out. But I mean, my point was that I never thought about the disease and stuff until I got really, really, really close in our relationship. And then I was like, oh man, this is a little scary.
Yeah.
So we just talked it out and prayed about it. And yeah, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Now, one of the best things about your story with her to me was the story of your first date. And it was just a blurb kind of in your book, but for some reason, it was just funny to me that you go on a blind date with her, you never met her.
Right.
Accompanying you on the date
Uh-huh.
is the guy for the minister from, what was his name?
Yeah, Josh Folliard.
Josh Williard. And then one of his pictures and his girlfriend went along with him.
Yeah, Trey Holloway and his girlfriend, Kristen, who my wife taught in elementary school.
Oh, so she already knew him.
She knew Josh Folliard, Trey's girlfriend, who it's his wife now.
So that makes it a little more different, but she's on a blind date with one of her former students, one of your current players. I thought that was kind of cool. I think if I was the player and that kid, I think that'd be a neat thing to be a part of too.
Well, then we were kind of oblivious to them for most of the night. I mean,
well, yeah,
we just,
that's how you know it's a good blind date, right?
yeah, added away like we had known each other forever, and I don't even remember too much about what they were doing or what they ordered to eat, anything. I don't remember.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So you continued coaching there at until 2017, 16?
16, yeah, 2016 is my last year.
You retired.
I started feeling bad. I mean, we had gone to the College World Series in 2015, and man, I was so tired. And I just felt terrible. I had a hard time just getting out of bed in the morning. And found out that I had an Amazon. I'm looking at my notes over here. Found out that I had a thyroid condition. So once I got on some medicine, I was okay. But that's how I don't have any hair anymore. I used to have a lot of hair, man.
I did too.
Hey,
mine's going slow.
Hey, 2015, that same year, 2016, we're still trying to get the thyroid medicine straightened out, and all of a sudden my hair starts falling out. So the thyroid condition is an autoimmune disease. And so what happened was I got alopecia totalis, which is another autoimmune disease. And so like all my hair just disappeared, like the white blood.
You got that later in
thought that there was something wrong with the hair follicles, and they killed them.
We had Landon Jackson on from the football team on the podcast, and he deals with that. He transferred in this year, but that's wild. Well, now when you were coached at Arkansas, one of the things you like to do with your pitchers was take them to Cleveland Hill. We heard about Cleveland Hill a lot through basketball. Nolan Richardson was famous for taking his players there, but I never heard about. I was sure the other athletic teams used it, but never. Yours is the first story I'd heard from the baseball team using it.
Yeah, like one day a week or so. I mean, I broke it up. I mean, I was always tough on them with conditioning because I was trying to create tough, tough-minded guys. I just needed to know that you weren't going to fold. You might bend a little bit, but you're not going to fold. You're not going to quit. And we did that through conditioning, because I really had some tough conditioning things for them. And this, like I'd make them run a 6-minute mile. I'd make them run time foul poles in 25 seconds, with like 50 seconds of rest in between. If you didn't make it, it didn't count, and it just built character. So we decided that we'd just do Cleveland Hill. And I'd make them run up Cleveland Hill and then jog back down. And we'd do it 3 times for like 3 outs to an inning. We'd pile up in my truck and some of the other cars and stuff and park down at the bottom of Cleveland and run up that baby and jog back down. And I'm telling you, that is not a walk in the park.
No.
No, I ran down Mount Nebo once, and that was terrible. Because I played football at Arkansas Tech, and we would have voluntary senior workouts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it.
5 a.m, be there. But in the last one, he would drive us up to the top of Mount Nebo and be like, "All right, run down."
Mm-hmm.
And so that is no. Now, how many pitchers have you coached that wound up in the majors?
Oh gosh, I don't know. There's been a few. I mean, there's some kids from the 80s, and there's more from the 2000s. So
now, would you say that you could definitely see a difference of the way those guys attacked work compared to the other ones that may not have made it as far? It's like a different work ethic when it came to conditioning and working on their.
No, I mean, because they didn't have any choice. They hadn't had any choice. I mean, I was as tough on the guys that the 15th pitcher on the team as I was on the number 1 pitcher on the team. I mean, I just treated them all the same. I mean, I believed even number 15, if he believed in himself enough, he could find a way to go out there and be able to get guys out. So I always treated them as being valuable pieces of the team and respected them for how they went about their work. So I think it's just a matter of more talent, the intangible stuff, probably more talent. They've had more success, so they got more confidence.
No, I can see that. Especially if you make it to Division I SEC baseball, you've obviously have a work ethic by the time you get there. You're gonna get to even that. You'd
be surprised. I mean, their bar was not set, nowhere near as high as my bar was set. I expected them to do a heck of a lot more than they ever thought they could.
Yeah.
Now, you coached Cliff Lee, correct?
No, I didn't have Cliff.
Okay.
Cliff left the year. I think he left before I got there.
What, Dallas Keuchel?
Keuchel, yes, Ed Keuchel.
He's having a pretty good career.
He's had a good career. I mean, right now he's kind of on the outside looking in. I think he's still left-handed and I believe healthy. But that Cy Young year he had was that was an outlier, so to speak. I mean, that really wasn't who he was. Not that he's not that dominant pitcher, but he's been let go this year by a couple of different teams. So I mean, I don't know where he's at right now with his career, but as long as he's healthy and he's still looking, I guess, so to speak. I what he's up to.
Yeah.
Now,
you got to, if you're in that situation, you're staying ready. He'll be ready when his number's called.
Right. I don't know why he's fallen off. I mean, maybe he's taking it a little bit too easy. Dallas was always a tough work, a hard. Maybe he's reading the press clippings about himself and doesn't think he needs to do this or that or whatnot. But it doesn't take long to fall off the mountain. You got to keep you plugging.
Well, me and Travis, we had a little Missouri recap we did yesterday because we wanted this to be our main podcast. So we released that, and we talked about coaching. And athletics is one of the sports where somebody is always working against you. Because if your pitcher out there working on a craft, there's a batter trying to figure out how to hit you. When you're developing pitchers, someone's trying to figure out how to beat your strategy.
Right.
Like
and there's a lot more information that the hitters are receiving these days than there used to be too.
Yeah.
You've got to adjust with that. You've got to adapt with it. Dallas has been kind of a change up, arm side sink type of guy, try to throw the ball below the knees, pitch to contact, get some ground balls. Well, maybe now he needs to be able to make adjustments and be able to pitch up in his zone like everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
So,
now,
I don't know.
You talked about kind of the way he throws the ball. Now, I think it was Hagen Smith that a lot of people were talking about his arm slot. I guess, and what is an arm slot? And they said something about like, they won't have time to fix his arm slot at Arkansas. They'll have to do that when he gets to the minors. Why is that? What are they talking about? Why is that?
Well, first of all, our arm action's kind of a tough thing to be able to change. You're so used to throwing the ball a certain way. I've found that that's a very difficult adjustment to make for the pitchers. Outside of that, I don't think there are any other tough ones. I mean, as far as mechanical and physical things go. But in college baseball, it's all about winning. You got to win.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always big in developing, but at the same time winning, because you can't confuse these guys. You got to keep it simple. I mean, one little nugget at a time and grind it out and work on it till you got it. And then you got a kid with great aptitude, you go a little quicker. Kid with not as much aptitude that doesn't process the information quite as well, you got to slow down and back off a little bit. So, I mean, it just depends a lot on the coaching, philosophy on what they're trying to do. And, who he is at this point, they can win with him the way he's doing it.
Right.
And that's what's important right now. So when he gets into pro baseball and he gets into minor leagues, winning is not near as important as the development, although some organizations place a lot of importance on winning, because when you get to the big leagues, it's about winning. So there's time, I guess, is what I'm saying, in the minor league to be able to get to be able to process that, to make some changes.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is they'll fire an SEC coach a lot faster than they'll fire a AA coach.
Yes.
Yes.
Most.
Well, Coach, as we said earlier, there's a lot of there may be a lot of parents out there that maybe listening, that they got a kid that's a pretty good pitcher in little league. He's throwing heat. He's one of the best in his little league, and there are the dad's already got these delusions of grandeur in his head. His kid's going to pitch for the Razorbacks and then get drafted by the Cardinals or the Yankees or somebody, and he's going to do all this.
He's not even going to go to college, Travis. He's going to be the first overall pick.
That's right. And he's going to buy his parents a big house, and they're going to retire wealthy. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And because of that kid ends up playing year-round baseball, throwing year-round, and possibly taking on pitches, learning new pitches that may end up hurting their arm in the long run. Yeah. Or should they push as hard as they can, or should they be careful? Do you see that people are trying to push kids too hard right now? Or do you think it's okay as long as it's managed properly?
I'm really not in touch with a lot of stuff that's going on with the kids, but I can only imagine, as a parent, and being proud of their child and this and that. But I think, you've got to be smart about what the child's doing, what the kid's doing. I mean, what age are they? Are they 10 years old and spinning breaking balls because the kids can't hit them and they fall in love with them and they never develop their arm, and their arm winds up, they wind up hurting their elbow, or they're throwing the pitch the wrong way. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into all this breaking ball stuff at certain ages.
Mm.
I mean, I've always been a big believer that these young kids, 8, 9, 10 years old, even 12 years old, learn how to throw a fastball for a strike and learn how to throw a changeup, change speeds, but learn how to command and control the baseball. I mean, pitching, it's called pitching. It's not called throwing. I mean, pitching is ball control, ball movement, change of speed. So, I mean, that's what the kids need to be learning, and they need to learn how to compete. They need to learn how to have fun. They need to learn how to handle losing. There's a lot of things that go into all that development for these kids, and they do have to have some downtime. I mean, when I say downtime, I mean downtime of competitive throwing and pitching. Bullpens and this and that. I think you could play catch 12 months a year. I think that's going to hurt your arm one bit. In fact, it's keep it in shape for you to be able to handle the level of throwing that you're going to have to do when your season starts. I mean, some kids don't do any throwing at all, and next thing you know, the spring comes around and they're trying to accelerate the process and not given enough time to get their arm in shape. They wind up getting hurt.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can go wrong by playing catch the year round. That's not going to hurt anything.
Yeah.
Now, how many times have you uttered that phrase? It's called pitching, not throwing.
Oh, I don't know, hundreds.
I was like, when you said that, I was like, I guarantee you he has said that.
Yeah.
Well, I used to tell my guys, I said, look, I don't like the radar gun. The radar gun just tells me what kind of arm strength you got, but throwing, velocity doesn't get anybody out.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what good velocity is. Go to the county fair, take your girlfriend out there, light up the radar gun and win her all the teddy bears you can. That's what it's, if you can get it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Coach, man, we appreciate you coming on here with us. And once again, your book is on Amazon. Is there other places you can buy it too?
No, it's just on Amazon right now. But let me plug my website. It's called davejorn.com.
Okay.
And you can order a book. It'll direct you to Amazon to get the book. But really, this book was written. I never intended for this book to even be written. I was just kind of prodded into writing it. And it was really, it kind of started off, the early years, without Christ was just an example of what people can go through and never give up, grind it out, keep going, keep working. Your dream is this, your dream is that. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. Overcome and grind it out and don't quit. And then the second half, after I've accepted Christ, it's all about salvation. That's what my goal is right now in life. I want to go and I want to speak to people. I've gone to churches. I've gone to pancake breakfasts. I've gone to different things just to speak to groups of people about salvation, because if you'll recall, I mentioned a couple of times earlier in the broadcast, in the interview here, that I accepted Christ twice in my life, but it never took hold because my life never changed. And I really believe there's a lot of people out there that are in the same boat.
I totally agree with you.
This, profess their faith in Jesus Christ and accepting Jesus Christ, but there's no evidence in their life, so they're not really saved.
Yeah,
and that's what concerns me. I really invite people to go to that website and contact me, and because I want to go and my purpose is not really to sell books. The purpose is for the books to be sold and the people to recognize the importance of salvation, and to be able to use me as a tool if they want to, for me to speak to groups or go here or go there, do whatever I need to do to reach people about salvation. So that's my mission right now.
That's awesome.
One of the things I tell my people a lot, and I've told teenagers for years. The Bible talks about the fruit of the Spirit and fruit. If we're believers, we're going to bear fruit.
Correct.
And I can't tell you a lot about trees besides they have leaves, and I can't tell you. I might could tell you a pine tree from an oak tree, but that's about it. But I know if it's got apples coming out of it, it's an apple tree. And that's what you're talking about. If your life is really tapped into Christ, you're gonna have fruit. You're gonna have those spirits, love, joy, peace, goodness, kindness, self-control, all those different things. And it is an important message. And your book does do a good job of telling of the struggles you faced in tough times, and also you do a good job of telling that despite all of that stuff you went through, that even in that there was a plan. And I think in our world with so many unknowns, just having something to where we can say there is a plan, there is a purpose for my life, and I'm just not thrown out here, just spinning willy-nilly in the world. There is a God, and he has a purpose and a plan for me, and he wants a relationship with me.
That's exactly right. And this world is in a world of hurt right now. And the only answer is Jesus Christ. Once he touches your life and you've accepted him and the Holy Spirit enters your life, it's going to be like nothing like you've experienced before. People are just killing people right now for no reason. It's just crazy. If you accept Christ and you're walking with the Lord, this is what's going to take care of all that. I don't see any other way to get around it. But anyway, that's where I'm headed at right now. That's my mission. So,
I know we have, I know some of my friends are ministers and things like that, so they can go to that website and look you up if they have an event they want you to come speak at, or things like that. Correct?
You bet.
Okay. Well, Coach, man, we're gonna stop recording here in a minute. Stay on here so we can say our goodbyes off of recording. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
But we seriously thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for telling your story. Thank you for being willing to tell your story. And like you said, it's an important story. You got to experience a lot of things in baseball, but life is about more than that. Sure.
Baseball. It'd be a great name for a book.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, Coach, thank you so much, man. Folks,
thank you.
Like and share this with your family, your friends. I know this is, we're in the middle of football and basketball season right now, but if you got folks in baseball, folks that need to hear a message of hope, that things can change, that God can change their life, send this to them. Like and share. Thank y'all so much for listening. We're so thankful for our fans. This is episode 91. We're getting close to 100, Clint.
We're getting there.
Can you believe it?
No.
Thank y'all so much. Have a great.
People still listen to us.
Have a great week. God bless.
Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Listen, that's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no harvest till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Listen, I wake up in the morning, I bow my head to pray. Mama told me if I don't, ain't nothing gonna change. These prayers breaking up hard ground so I can sow the seed. Ain't afraid of no aches and pain. Lord knows I gotta follow his lead. That's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filled